Hello guys, how are you doing today? Welcome to another beautiful episode of Billionaire Habits with me, Stephen Akintayo. And today I have a wonderful, wonderful guest in the house, Mr. Chris. Now, your son name,
Omoijiade.
From what state?
Edo State.
So, it sounds Yoruba, but not Yoruba.
So, we're borderline. But it says the son is the backbone of his parents.
Omoijiade. So it's Yoruba now?
It's Edo. So
Yoruba.
If we start the conversation on who took from who, we'll be here till tomorrow.
Omoijiade.
Yeah, Omoijiade.
So, shortened to Omoijiade. It's Omoijiade.
I'll plead the fifth.
By the way, it's barrister. So you might sense that tone of that legal, And so, by the way, I just went through some of your books. First of all, I love the printing. When did you author your first book?
The first one was 2009. That's the first published work. It was 2009.
Yeah.
Subsequently, we've gone on to release 6 other titles. So 7 in total.
7 in total.
You also equally push out quite a lot, Doctor.
Yeah, I've done over 40, but I love the quality of your printing. Mine is not near there.
I think it's driven by a internal dialogue I have with myself that I serve such an excellent God. And everything. My first book, I was having a conversation with my then editor and publisher, and they were going back and forth. And I told them, if we don't have something that I know can be globally accepted, by Monday you won't see me. They thought I was joking. By Sunday, I bought a ticket. By Monday, by the time they came to my office and asked of me, I was in Dubai. But the major thing I think that drives me is this, Doctor.
Yeah.
I believe that just like your works, your works go ahead of you.
Yeah, true.
I remember the day I met Don Moen for the first time. I remember putting up a post and saying that I was in JSS 1 when a school father gave me the tape.
Yeah.
And his work had gone.
Which one is that?
It was the very first.
Do you remember any song?
I'm trying to remember the classic one on that one.
God is good
all the time.
All the time.
And it was in the small tapes that you needed to worry. Don't go praise. Anyway, you passed up for years, so you had to beat me to that.
Were you using those lamp
ones that you press?
Gen Z don't know what we're talking about.
They've left the room. They have vacated the room. So I felt that those are the things that drive me. I have seen when I printed the first book, I got a letter from one of these bank MDs in this country.
Wow.
Never met him before in my life. Wrote handwritten letter and said, somebody gifted me a book. I just want to say, job well done, keep it up. Wow. So those are the conversations I have. Ensure that what goes out is globally accepted. And number 2, gives a good account of you, even when you're not in the room.
What was your background? I mean, you were born where?
So I was born in Lagos, born to an amazing middle-class family. My dad was a banker for almost 40 years.
Wow.
My mom a teacher, taught for the state government for equal amounts of years. 5 siblings. Grew up in
Were you
Yaba.
the first?
No, 4th born actually.
Wow.
3 elder sisters. Grew up in Yaba. A very conservative household. Attended the international school, the University of Lagos. Absolutely loved it. Shapes me completely.
University of Lagos?
Yes, international school in the University of Lagos.
Okay.
It totally shaped me and changed the trajectory of my life. And went on to study law at the University of Lagos. Yes.
You are really American.
Oh, yes. I tell everybody, you can't sell me in Lagos. Or anywhere in the Southwest. So after that, I went up to the Nigerian Law School. And after my BL, I proceeded to the UK for my master's degree, where I majored in telecommunications and maritime law. Okay. Came back home, and ever since then, it was business. I have a very entrepreneurial father, and he always supported all my very wild ideas. So I got off into doing quite a lot of business. It was in the food business. I had a restaurant chain called Relish. Yes. So we had a couple of branches across Lagos. Did pretty well there, expanded into other areas like travel, bureau de change, and trading as well, bringing in quite a lot of importations. I remember when the motorcycle helmets were not law and it became law, brought in container loads of helmets. So I was at that age, you're involved in everything, anything that goes. But I think the final thing, and it was my consultancy. Eventually, I've always been an avid reader.
Yeah,
I absolutely love my books, love books. So I brought in somebody that you're also familiar with. I brought in John Maxwell in 2010. I brought him in 2010. John still remains a mentor to this day.
Yeah.
So he was one of the first people who actually inspired me on the book journey and said, Chris, when are you going to write a book? When are you going to write a book? So
I remember John Maxwell coming to Nigeria.
Yeah. So brought him in. And so that pretty much sums the beginning days.
Wow. So it looks as if there was a time you went, though I think you built your corporate brand more than your personal brand. Is that true?
Yes.
Why was that intentional?
Not really. I think at that point in time, the law has always afforded me a very conservative nature. So I think for those of us who were cut from that particular cloth, we're always trained to be at the back end. In fact, for instance, on social media now, I'm just trying to I'm just trying to, be out there, show this. Otherwise, I'm like, okay, so like I see doctors, I'm like, okay, I wish I could do this. The spirit just holds me back, but I think I decided to just of recent understand that there's an interplay between the corporate brand and the personal one. People really want to they want to know who's behind this. In law, there's something called piercing the veil. So you want to know who's behind what is being said, what is being written. So that's kind of brought us out in recent times and all.
So, I mean, at some point you had a loss.
Yes.
$1 million. First of all, how do one lose $1 million?
The same way you lose $1 billion. The same way you lose $1 billion. Okay, so I wrote about it in my book, You Too Can Be Debt Free, and it brings back a lot of memories, painful memories.
Is it a new book?
Yes.
You Too Can Be Debt Free.
You Too Can Be Debt Free.
And guys, get that book.
Yeah, thank you for that. So for me, it was really more about having an ostrich mentality, burying my head in the sand and not willing to face the reality of what was coming to me. Because when I played back, I just imagined to myself that it could have been controlled. I could have done better. I could have spoken up. For instance, one of the things that unfortunately I didn't do at the time was tell my spouse for a long time.
Jesus. For how long?
For quite a while.
A year, 2 years,
maybe over the period. I mean, I always run.
How long? I need to know how long.
I think it probably would have been maybe about a year.
Jesus.
And you know what it means to suffer? Serious. You're suffering in silence. And she's noticing the mood swings. She's noticing the changes. And God bless my wife.
Yeah.
God bless my wife. And she's having to stomach a lot of losses. And she's 7 months pregnant with my second son. And she's expecting the same beautiful birth process. And unfortunately, things had gotten to the point where I could no longer hold it. And I remember having to go down on my knees the second time. The first one being when she got the ring. And saying to her,
the second one.
The second one, I messed it all up. And she's asking how. And the worst part is where you can't really explain how. So one of the businesses that I had was a bureau de change, licensed bureau de change. So I had a CBN license. But like anyone would know in that space and that business, in 1 minute you are swimming in so much. The next minute, some wrong decisions, a policy change, one wrong person not fulfilling their own end of the bargain totally can wreck you. So I had, it was a cesspool, it was a mess. So later on, I found myself in a space where I was just scampering to fulfill client orders. And I hadn't bought a new car. There was no new house. There was no new watch. There was no new device. There was nothing to show that was it. And a few clients understood. But
how did they happen? Because I'm curious.
So I think if you know very well about the FX market, if a client, for instance, gives you XYZ amounts of money and makes a demand for $1 million, and gives it to you, say the Naira equivalent of 200 Naira, all it takes is a CBN government to announce the next day that it becomes 400.
Wow.
And immediately the client tells you, I'm not going to take like that 200 Naira from you. You've held on to my money for how long? And it becomes a major issue. So, and the same thing we said before this podcast, I was always running on the wrongful fallacy that I don't want to be dragged. I don't want my name. I will do anything it takes, which in itself can be good. But in the process, you're digging a deeper hole for yourself. I remember we both saw a few days ago, you made a statement where you said that nobody should drag you when you remember the statement you made. And I mean, I wish I heard that statement years ago. You know, I just felt that it was always good to be honorable and keep your word. You know, so that. Then after a while, it now became a case of having to take from Peter
to Ropo.
Yeah, you know, you're trying your best to just save face
because there's a hole, and you're trying to block it.
You're trying to block the hole. Wow. So that together just accumulated in. And
did this affect your other businesses?
Oh yes, it did. Oh yes. I mean, the restaurant had closed years before then. We had sold it off.
Okay.
For many reasons, government policies being one, not encouraging. Then subsequently, but I did end up just closing shop on everything. Wow. I was done. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted a good night's sleep.
Wow.
I just wanted a good.
So you shut down all your businesses?
All businesses were gone,
including consulting.
Everything. I was still receiving training jobs, still doing a few good, but it wasn't as much as I would have pushed myself to do, because I always used to run with the risk of thinking to myself, this creditor can come from me. This can come from me.
Enter the seminar room.
He's
a thief.
He's the one.
This Baramo.
He's the one. But I said this, doctor, and I wrote about it in my book. I actually genuinely praise every creditor, because I say this, that oftentimes you don't know what's going on the other side as well.
Yes.
So you shouldn't be too selfish to think that it's really all about you. People have gone through pains to trust you.
Yeah.
I have people who trusted me with their own money.
Yeah.
And so I oftentimes when I replay it in my head, I see nothing wrong in what they did.
Yeah.
Some of the moves they made, I could have felt that I were uncomfortable.
Including using EFCC,
including using law enforcement.
Come scatter your office.
Because genuinely, doctor.
But you, as a lawyer, you know that's not legit.
Yes, it's not. Civil is different from criminal.
Yeah.
And oftentimes those lines are blurred in our jurisprudence locally. So I always advise, when people reach out to me, I always remind them, when you bring all the US books on debts, I remind you that what you do call them, you are Nigerian.
But technically, even if you look at it, the lines are blurred not by the law.
Yes.
It's the culture, the society.
Yes.
Because I can imagine how many people will say, oh, he stole the money.
Yes.
Oh, he was lavish.
Yes.
Right, without knowing behind the scene that it was
the
nothing.
Petition. The day I read the petition myself, I couldn't believe I was the one being described.
Aha. I've seen this.
Yeah, exactly. It's always pretty so much sensationalism.
Yes, it would be sensationalized.
Yeah, they tell you that you were traveling the world, you were drinking champagne, and you're thinking to yourself, which world was I traveling? What champagne was I drinking? You know, but I guess that's what stirs the officers of the law to be able to make a move on you. And they did make a couple of moves, and it was quite an experience. I wrote about it in the book. I dedicated an entire chapter to it. It was 8 days I would never forget.
Jesus.
8 days I would never forget. It changed me completely. It changed my approach towards money. It gave me time for reflection. I mean, this is me.
Were you locked up for 8 days?
Yes, and it was not even within it wasn't within the area where the businesses were conducted.
Yeah.
You know the way law enforcement do. Exactly, it will take you out of
you.
Exactly, take you out, and the creditor obviously would feel that I'm doing everything I can to get back.
I'm going to deal with you.
I'm going to deal with you, and I say a prayer for them. I left law enforcement not feeling one iota of bitterness. And I guess it's the Holy Spirit that can give you that.
Wow.
I didn't feel any bitterness. I didn't feel any ill givings. You did what you felt was necessary to be done at the time. And to God be all the glory.
Wow. So, I have many questions follow up to that. I don't know which one I should ask first. So how did you come out of, let's say, paying them first of all? Let's start with that.
So part of the things that I have discovered is I later on discovered that the Holy Spirit was also giving me a roadmap. He was actually giving me a roadmap. And one of the things I learned during that depth journey was that the scars were not just mine. I was literally being raised as a Moses to help people. And
it wasn't just all about you.
It was not about you. So when you're going through a tough time, there's a bigger picture at play. Don't for a second think to yourself that this is just me, especially when you're a believer.
Yeah.
And God knows how to use the mess to become a message. He knows how he loves the raw material of confusion, of pain. He has a way in which he masterfully is a great potter. So when all of this happened and I was learning, I started writing while I was still in debt. So every time I learn a new lesson, I would scribble something down. I would write something down and say, okay, this is what I learned today. And all of that became the book. But what I started doing was I first identified those who I would call those that had the crazy temperament. It happens. It's a reality. You would find out that every time you're owing, there'll be people who'll be reasonable, and there'll be others who will not here. They're ready to take the roof off this building. So we ended up tackling those people first. Then I was blessed to have amazing people that God raised.
Jesus.
There were people God raised. Like I had two people.
What year was this?
This was about 5 years or 4 years ago now. It's going to go in 2025. It's still very fresh. Very fresh. This car, sometimes it bleeds. It's still extremely very fresh. Fresh. I had two people that God raised. One was a lady. I had read a book on how she became debt-free. I read it in a sitting, like 6 hours. I was in Abuja, and I sent her a message saying, you don't know me, I don't know you, but I need to speak with you. And she picked up her phone and called me right back after seeing that message, and she became a friend. Sometimes when you're going through that season, people think that the best thing you need is the money to pay.
Yes.
But oftentimes, oftentimes you need that person. You need that one person who
the counselor
you need. And the Bible tells that there is wisdom in a multitude of counsel. So you find out that she was able to, sleep, eat, take it easy, all those things. The second person I had was a lawyer. Because that's only being a lawyer myself, I understood how important it is for you to have somebody who will analyze issues without emotions.
Yes.
So I remember I had gone for a training. I had done a training for an organization once, and there was a particular lawyer there who I just liked for some strange reason. So when this season came, the Holy Spirit brought him to my remembrance, and I picked up my phone and called him. He was really excited to hear him, and I said, this is what I'm going through, and I need your help. This gentleman picked up his car keys and was driving around the Lagos metropolis from creditor to creditor on my behalf. And he never charged me a dime.
No, God bless you.
He never charged me a dime.
No.
He never charged me a dime. He went around, was talking to them. This man is not running away. He's going to pay your money. This man is not. He would call me. He would be there. So I'm family as well. Nothing beats family, man. People who would always be there for you, whether you're good, ugly, whatever. They are there say, you know what, we're not going to leave you. We got your back.
Wow, this is interesting. Wow, this is good. So now, by the way, for people watching us, this episode probably will be one of my favorite because I had a very dark season in my life, 2012. I ran into debt without borrowing money. mine was refund, customers. And I remember one of them, his father was a police officer. And then involved, I think maybe the person was a deputy commissioner or whatever title. I got to the guy's office. I was representing a university in Hungary. And so what he had paid were just 100,000, him and his spouse, 200,000 processing fee. And we told them it wasn't refundable. So the police officer said, okay, can we call the university to be sure? They called the university confirmed that they were the one that refused to give them admission because they had lost the funding because it was a subsidized program. And then it's okay, was the admission processing fee refundable or not? They told them it wasn't refundable because this man had to send the document via DHL. He spent money. Do you know the police officer, senior one, saying, I've heard all this from the university, they've confirmed. He said, but I heard you're a pastor in your local church. You see, if we start dragging your name now, you have a reputation to protect. So no pressure. Just give us post-data check. And this was me in my 20s. I was a young entrepreneur. Just give me post-data check. And that's it. I will take time. Just pay them back. Don't spoil your name. I look back today and I wonder, who knew me then? Which reputation was I protecting? Right? And it's a lesson of how people have been bullied.
Yeah.
Unjustly. Because first of all, there's even no legal contract between the two of us that say I will refund.
Yeah.
Right? And we clearly made it known.
Yeah.
It wasn't refundable.
Yeah.
But he had to bully me. And I literally shut down the office. I felt it was demons, it was forces. So today, looking back at how God helped us to rise up, I'm extremely passionate about the subject of debt and young entrepreneurs because I knew how we couldn't.
It's spiritual, doctor. It is spiritual, and I'll explain why. The devil is on a rampage. And the tool is one of his tools is debt. He's using it. I did a podcast just like this one a few months ago where I said that if we're not careful, Nigeria is going to see an entirely new generation of debtors. I have a debt conclave class that I take. And when I see the back end of messages, private messages sent, you would worry for the future. You would worry for the future. You will worry for the future. And when you see the proliferation of the loan apps, I was teasing during the training once. I said, my baba, every time I cut my baba has a new name. Today, when you want to cut, he'll give you a new name with one particular. The next name give you, and I kept on. Your name can't change every week. It's not even possible. But what he has done, because I know, is that he is borrowing from each of these. So once he's able to borrow here, he moves to the next one, he borrows. He moves to the next one, he borrows. And like, what really is your real name?
And he changed his name on each app.
On each app. But if we're not careful, because money, like being a man of faith is spiritual in nature.
Yeah.
So the devil understands, and that's why we're trying to raise in the marketplace kingdom entrepreneurs who know their place and their authority in Christ, because we need finance to prosecute the agendas of cultural reformation, of mind transformation. And for that reason, anything and everything that the devil will do to ensure people remain, he will do it. Because what debt does, it puts you in servitude. The Bible tells you that you're a slave to the lender. So it keeps you as a slave. And you cannot operate so much as a slave. But where he gets it wrong, and for believers and anybody who's listening to me, is this. I think it was Dr. Paul Eneche, who said this, that fortunately, every area of your greatest conflict is often the area of your crowning.
Yes, absolutely.
So I always say to people who are in debt, I say, if you look really closely, you will find out that there is somewhat of a calling for you in that space.
Absolutely.
And everywhere there's a calling, the devil fights it. The devil fights it. If he knows that you are in money, you're going to do stuff, he would do everything. If he knows that you're in the space of marriage where you're going to be the next people do koya, your marriage will be the. So that's what he does. So we need wisdom.
So to start helping people who are watching this, and I'm happy we have you on this. How do people come out of that? What are the right things to do and the wrong things to do? You see sometimes people are owing, and the first thing is you disappear. You're not picking people calls. You're not explaining what's going on. Or another version, you make false promises. I go through that now as a business owner who is losing control of his business, because I now have MDs who run the businesses. And sometimes things get to me and I say, why can't you people just tell the person the truth?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
You can forecast your sales. Yeah. And you can easily know to say, hey, either to a vendor or to say, hey, you know what? We may not be able to pay you now. Yeah. We'll pay you later. Yeah. And I'm saying, I'm still handling bigger businesses and I'm doing that. But you are handling smaller.
And yet you don't, so, you can't be able to face it.
I still had the conversation last month with somebody. I'm to pay $3.3 million on a property. And I was supposed to be end of this month. And I said, look, I won't be able to meet up. I invited him. We had a conversation. I can't meet up. And I probably need three months more. And you'll be shocked when the guy said, well, I wasn't thinking you would be able to meet up. And I'm willing to give you an extension. But why can't we look at people in the face and say, I'm sorry.
I think it's fear, doctor. One of the tools, one of the foot soldiers of debt is fear. So what debt does is that he sends his soldiers ahead, and one of the things he does is fear of the unknown, fear of what will be said, fear of the repercussions if I speak the truth. So the lie always sounds more interesting.
Wow.
So if I speak the truth, I won't get it. If I say a lie, I would win a few. You see, people underrate what they have for free when they're debt free.
Oh, hey. No, you say that again.
People underrate what they have that is free when they are debt free. So, for instance, now when you don't owe, you don't know the beauty of sleeping and waking up. Where God created the day and the night. When you're in debt, both of them become merged.
Yeah.
There's no division because some creditors will wait for night time, some will wait for daytime. So, but I think fear is the first tool, but the first thing I would encourage anybody who's in debt really is to honestly be true to yourself.
Just be.
And be true to others.
Absolutely.
The heavens are not going to fall.
Yes.
Solomon said there's nothing new under the earth.
There's nothing.
People have been owing, people will owe, and people will still continue to owe. So what you need to just do is face the reality of I'm in debt, and how do I stop digging? How do I get out of this? I had a lady in the bank, on one of the banks, who reached out to me and said, Mr. Chris, I'm in debt. I read your book. Thank you for being a blessing. And I reached out to her and I said, you know what, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to face your fears by speaking to these people. Oh, I'm going to lose my job. The banker, I'm a banker. My check must not bounce. I told that, don't worry. Because one of the things that God does in his infinite mercy is that he's not man. God is not man. Yeah. He looks at the heart of man.
Yeah.
He genuinely looks. And I'll give you two quick examples. Let me even say this. This may sound, many creditors do not like what I'm about to say. Not every debt will be paid back. Whether it's the truth.
That's true.
Some, God is the one that will pay them. He's the one that will pay them. And I'll give you an example. I have an amazing gentleman who has been a friend for years. So I was owing him. And that's why it's always good to listen to the Holy Spirit. That morning, the Holy Spirit gave me a leading and said, go and see him. In my mind, I'm like, why do I need to go and see somebody that, number one, you don't even have the money to pay him back?
Yeah.
And now you want to go and see him to say what? Obedience. Yeah. I get out of my house, call him and tell him I'm coming to your office. Okay, no problem. I get there. Secretary keeps me in the reception for a while. I go up to his office and I say to him, I genuinely don't know why I'm here. But I'm just here to tell you that I'm here. And he looks at me like, what? I'm like, the money I'm owing you, I don't know how I'm going to be able to pay you. I found myself in a cesspool where I'm owing quite a number of people and they're dragging me from different directions. He looks back, he looks up and looks down at me and says, Chris, you don't owe me. I'm like, can you repeat that? He says, you don't owe me. I'm like, why don't I owe you? He says, because I canceled your debts. And I look at him like, when did this happen?
Yeah.
And he says to me, he's a developer just like you.
Yeah.
He was developing a real estate project within where your office is located in the eyebrow area of Ikoyi. And he had collected funds from somebody. The state government comes and demolishes the structure. Automatically overnight, he finds himself in serious debt.
Jesus.
He approaches the person who had given him the money.
Wow.
And the man says, you're a young man.
Hey.
If I drag you on this money. So typically.
And he's not
just like the man in the Bible. He figured out that if I had received mercy, with God himself will not be. So that only goes to show you systematically how debt repayment is multidimensional in nature. There's some that you will liquidate assets to sell. There are some that will be paid lump sum. There are some that will be paid gradually. There are some, the same way it didn't take one day
to get the money.
It's the same way it's not going to probably take one day. And in fact, I discourage if you even have an opportunity to pay it up one day. You know why? You will never learn the lessons. You learn the lessons when it's stretched out over a period of time. If somebody had given me a check and said, go and pay off your debt, I won't be sitting on this chair today. It was because I had to go through the different multifaceted layers of the repayments, learn the temperaments, learn emotional, learn humility.
I love the humility part.
I
love the humility part.
You will put aside all that you have known, all that you have, all the pride, every title, every educational qualification.
I love the
and you will now, So I think you just need to first face the reality of where you found yourself in. A moving bullseye is difficult to aim at. So you need to end up realizing. So one of the things that I know kills most is always interest repayments. So I always would encourage people, face the interest repayment. Make sure you get that out of the way. There will be other loans that you took from a colleague, a family, a friend. It's not moving. But as long as that target keeps on moving, you will never be debt-free. I can assure you. There will be those that you would have to renegotiate with. Those that you will tell the truth.
Get a good lawyer.
Get a good lawyer. Get a good advisor. Get somebody whose word is still gold.
Somebody whose word is still gold on your side.
Because your word is no longer the Bible talks about in times of Solomon, he said his stones were like silver was like stone, gold was like stones. Your own word is like there's nothing. So you need to find someone who will speak and say, you know what? I'm for this person. I'm not paying for him. But I assure you that you can always reach me. And I'll always be a voice. That has a way of tampering and calming nerves.
Let me say these two quick things, guys. If you're watching this and you're struggling with debt, number one, over disturb the person you are owing with a call.
Yes.
With a visit.
Yes.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yes.
I'll carry you EFCC, I'm here.
Yes.
I'll carry police, I'm here. And I've had to teach a lot of our leaders with this, because if you're doing business is scale with OPM and OPT.
Yes.
So, and please also differentiate what we're talking about, differentiate between personal debt and company debt. Right? Corporate debt is not your debt, really. Just that you are responsible to figure out how to pay it. Right? So the debt you should never even be involved is the personal one. Right? Don't go and buy wig that you don't have money, phone, cars, that you are driving. Let's not even talk about that. Don't even get into that. If you're into that, get out. But even in business, you need to know that business is run with OPM and OPT. So there will always be debt in business. And what then means you have credibility is your ability to pay.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I'm struggling with that in the US now. And they're saying I'm not credit worthy. And I'm like, what do you people mean?
Donald J. Trump.
And they're saying you have not taken enough loan. So you are not credit worthy. I'm like,
yes.
You people are turning things around.
You need to be unique basis.
Exactly.
For you to get our money.
And Africans don't know that.
You need to be unique basis.
They don't know that.
Yeah.
So now I'm learning business afresh in America.
101.
That in America, debt
you buy your mobile phone,
yeah,
buy everything on your credit card.
But what they are just saying is that we don't care the debt, we shall pay.
Yeah.
When is the interest or whatever as a due. And so if you now don't have enough debt, you are not even worthy of getting more money.
Well, you know, Doctor, one of the things that I also equally, when I speak to entrepreneurs, especially kingdom entrepreneurs, I always encourage them to also know God's dimension towards us building businesses.
Yeah.
When you do get involved in OPMs or not, please do it with the leading of the Holy Spirit. Many believers have gotten bonds destroyed. Some may never even rise again just because you ignored. And like I said to you before the podcast, it's not everybody's money you should touch. I will say it everywhere. There's some sums that you should avoid altogether. They are because
tell them why you say they should avoid.
I mean, I'll say it everywhere. I listened to Kenneth Copeland one day, and he says this a very powerful statement where every time you owe somebody, you bow to everything they bow to. Now, I'll leave that to your spirit to give you interpretation. Yeah, but what in essence I am saying is this: tread with wisdom as you grow. God's servant, Bishop Oyedepo, would always, anytime I look at him as an epitome of an individual who is in ministry and his enterprises are doing so well in the marketplace, he's a man that is filled with so much wisdom. You can tell when he makes those statements. I'm always moved when he says, we don't owe. I'm like, look, what are you talking about? $1 billion project. We don't owe. Go on, we don't owe. And I say this not to discredit entrepreneurs who obviously have to, lean on financial institutions and individuals. What I'm saying is that you should be careful to ensure that when you're making this move, good lawyers like you have, good advisors, good support system, good structures that will be able to. Many people do not have there are three things that would help you in business: structure, systems, and people. Once, if you don't have the right people, you will not only make wrong decisions, you will spend anyhow. The structure, you find out that you took legitimate funds, but at the end of the day, you'll not be able to account for it. You travel the world, you have managing directors in your different subsidiaries. You can imagine the kind of mess they will create if you don't have the right people and the right systems. It doesn't matter where you got the money from. You will be forced to have to pay. Because why? They know GTEx and they know Dr. Stephen Akintayo. So if you're in business, you need to go OPM routes. You need to get all that. Use the wisdom of God. Absolutely. I plead with you, especially in our jurisdiction.
I will also advise that you also use the wisdom of men too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There are men who have walked that path.
Yes.
Who have been that journey. Sit down with them.
Yes.
I think one of my biggest secrets, I always say this, is before a crisis comes, God has always shown me men and women I need to know. Such that when those things come, they've even given me the solution before the. So when I said, devil, you came late, unfortunately, because I already have the answer to this. So a lot of time people run into this because some of these challenges are exaggerated because of the knowledge gap, because of the mentorship gap, right? There are people who are owing $300 million.
Agreed.
Dr. Cosmos fell into a similar experience
a couple of years ago.
Right? And never had the kind of challenges that
goes along with that
people have. He was able to figure out and pay it off. Of course, he lost his shares in the bank and all of that, but nobody dragged him. In fact, he was sharing with me how a friend called him and said, how's it going? He shared the story, said, send me your account. Send a $10 million to him. The second month, called me and said, how far?
Doctor,
say
I like this kind of friend. Doctor, I can drop my dumb account today outside this podcast. You can check on me next month, find out how I'm doing, send me I mean, doctor.
Maybe you heard the first one. I said the second month he called again. Same man. Say, how's it going? Say, well, I'm still hanging on there. Sent another $10 million.
Doctor, I need friends. I need good friends now. All my friends watching this podcast. Amazing.
I did not ask for document. They did not sign anything. In fact, I said when he later paid the man back and he decided to add interest. The man come and say, no, he wasn't alone. He wasn't there. I didn't say, okay, consider the interest a gift. You gave me $20 million, nothing signed. No, you didn't even discuss whether I should pay you back. I'm the one that decided to pay back and add something on top. Wow. Knowing that this is a lot of money. So, and when it comes to debt as well, sometimes you don't necessarily need to go OPM until your business has scaled to a level, right? Where you can afford quality systems, quality consultant, quality lawyers before that. And the last thing I want to add on this, and I think it's very important for people watching, is not all debt has to be cash. You can do vendor financing.
Yes.
In other words, okay, I'm into real estate, build a house. When you're done building, when we sell, we pay you back. And a lot of entrepreneurs that you see and say, hey, this man is very big, that's what they leverage on.
Yes.
Right? As long as you build a good name, you build integrity. I have people calling me and say, Dr. Stephen, I know you have it. And that's how I started real estate, by the way. A man gave me 50 acres. And said, as you said, pay me. Until today, it still happens. I see people just take, you know, when you sell it, give me back. And that's technically a debt because suddenly I own a property, X, right? Just out of trust. And I can sell it for whatever amount, keep my profit, pay the other guy back. So powerful. This is really going to be one of the most impactful podcasts, I'm very sure. Now, why did you choose to be this vulnerable with this? Because I was sharing at the event you also attended that I no longer trust, people who say they are successful without a scar.
Agreed.
Right? They're faking something, I love people who are vulnerable enough with their scars because every style of a general is a function of the scars.
Agreed.
So why did you choose? Because it's not, people don't always do that.
Yes, it's not Nigerian like
yes.
I mean, I remember even going through the debt journey, having friends who stop picking your calls, friends who people don't want to associate yourself. They don't want to be.
They don't want to take pictures.
They don't want to take pictures. They don't want to appear that they know a debt.
Nigerian elite are like that, and they're all faking. All of them are fake.
You get into that space where all of a sudden people that you've known all your life clearly do not want. And people whisper, people talk here and there.
Yeah, gossip
here and there.
True.
And all of a sudden, people that are familiar with you. And sometimes, don't blame them because they are only acting within the bandwidth of their limited knowledge and intelligence. So,
2 ideas.
So they
cannot comprehend 4x4.
It's not. And again, when you realize that you are called on the earth for a purpose, your purpose is bigger than what people's impressions are of you.
Yeah.
The calling on your life is bigger than what will people say. Many times we get limited by your purpose is big. God is calling you to redeem an entire generation.
Yeah.
God is calling you to influence an entire world. And you are still saying, this is what Mr. X will say if I talk. This is what Mrs. Y will say if I talk. I mean, it's not easy. Talking quite seriously, having to be vulnerable. But I think the Holy Spirit is one that gives that vulnerability. Christ himself was vulnerable. I mean, look at where he came down from to die for you and I and walk the earth. He was extremely vulnerable.
Very true.
And I think vulnerability, being a storyteller with all the different expressions I have, nothing creates a better human connection than vulnerability.
True.
I mean, I write and speak on leadership. The best leaders in the world are the most vulnerable leaders.
True.
If you can learn the art of vulnerability, you find out that you would have a connection with everybody you come in contact with.
Very true.
Rich, poor, small,
very
big.
True.
Because not only is it lacking in our world today, it is authentic and it is real. And also, it's also a forerunner of humility as well.
Yes.
Vulnerability goes ahead of humility. So you say you're humble, but you can't be open enough to say, these are the mistakes I have made.
So
I'm bold enough to say I've made mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm bold bold enough to ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
If I meet any of my creditors, I'm bold enough to walk up to and say, I'm sorry for if I caused you any pain. It wasn't intentional. I'm trying to redeem myself. And I see redemption as a lifelong journey. So with my wife, she's aware of some certain things I have said about some particular creditors to say, just because I paid them doesn't mean it has ended. I will do everything I can to keep on rewriting the story, to let you know that you were a piece on a chessboard. We were both pieces on a chessboard that was divinely orchestrated. And whilst there were human elements to our words and our actions, there was a superimposing, supernatural being that was allowing things play out. So I decided to be vulnerable to help out. Like you said, you have a soft spot. Now, my heart is rigged anytime because I know what it feels like. I know people who have committed suicide because of that. True. I know people. Very true. This is not statistics. This is, I know people. And if we don't encourage people, we don't support people, we don't take certain steps, we will find ourselves, I repeat, in a big mess. The US already, you can see student loans. You can see how much debt has destroyed. I saw yesterday during Donald J. Trump's inauguration. I love going through comments on Instagram. I think that you will learn a lot from comments and even the story. So Donald Trump is being sworn in. All the top tech CEOs, all the movers and shakers in the United States are there at Capitol Hill. And I go through the comments. And the first comment I read is a lady says, to imagine that one of these people can just pay off my student loan and I'll be free. And I'm thinking to myself, that is what debt does. Every time I was going through it, then I see a big man, I don't think, this man can just give me his G-Wagon. And I can just sell this G-Wagon and pay somebody. And that's just what debt does. So people need to be more vulnerable. If you've gone through situations, not only debt, if you've gone through a nasty divorce, you've gone through whatever it is you've gone through, your story can lead to somebody else's glory. So do not hide your story. Many times when we get to heaven, I'm of the firm opinion that God is going to chastise quite a number of us on why we kept silent. Because your voice, your story could have been the redemption for so many others. It could have led people to have, it could have even led somebody to maybe not to have taken their life. That's the reason why I'm encouraging the culture of us telling our stories, writing our books. Dr. Stephen, you're not going to be in some places, but I assure you that your book is going to go ahead of you. Somebody's going to pick the book and say, I have hope. I can do this. He did it. I can do it. And you saved a life. You have saved a life. So that's the reason why I chose to be vulnerable, not to in any way bring scorn or any way make the creditors feel that, he's sounding confident now. No. Like I said, I honor everybody that I've ever owed. I honor them. I love them. Still love them. My major creditor, they may see this video or not, absolutely love them. Absolutely love them. Still do. He may not look it, he may not sound it, he may not be real, but I do.
Wow. Have you been able to pay everybody off now?
Now, so yes, I would say yes, technically. So what we've done, one of the things that God told me to do, especially writing the book, he just said, you know what? I was always looking for this picture perfect day. You know what I mean? There's this day where everything is perfect and you appear on the Mount of Transfiguration and your white is whiter than everybody's white. I was like, no, that's not the way it works with me. The way it works with me, we start sharing as you go along. So we started off repaying a lot, and I would say that we're virtually there. We're virtually there.
Thank God. I mean, this is a powerful story. For people who are still in debt, do you have like 2, 3, 4 things they can do?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
The very first one is you need to know how much you're owing. It may shock you that a lot of people do know. You say I'm in debt, you don't know how much you're owing. How does that work? Identify how much you owe. Then number 2, make a long list of your creditors. It doesn't matter. As long as it can fit in an A4 sheet of paper, you can pay them.
Even if it's more.
You can pay them. So identify those 2. Then like I said earlier on, 3, break them into different categories and start communicating and reaching out to them. Then number 4 is to take time out with friends, family, and those that are closest to you to come. Because when you're in that position, because human beings are emotional beings and we are driven and powered by emotions. you've often realized that your emotions may not allow you to be objective. So you need objectivity when you're paying off.
Wow.
So basically, family, friends, advisors, lawyers, anybody who can be a support base, who can now be able to tell you, what is it? Like the lady I mentioned at the bank, I asked her, how much do you earn?
Yeah.
What other skill do you have?
Yeah, exactly.
She told me that she grew up buying stuff on Mile 2 or Mile 12 for her mom. And that's what she gonna say, you know what, there you go. So I said, you know what, create a flyer.
Yes.
It's Christmas time and we help you push your business and help advertise to people who can patronize you. So she's doing this Christmas break while people were doing Dead Sea and clean. She decided to instead go to Mount 12 and started doing Christmas shopping for people in bulk. And she works in the bank. I told her the number one thing you will knock off, there's no shame when it comes to repayment. You will do whatever legitimate thing you can lay your hands on to do. There is dignity in labor. There's dignity. Nobody should ever, and this is clear to everyone, nobody should ever make you feel otherwise. As long as what you're doing doesn't take food from somebody else illegally, please do it. If you need to get a second job, do it. If you need to do a lesson, do it. Because the day of your restoration is coming. So I told her that, and she started doing that. I checked on her a few days ago, and she said, it sounds a lot better. She went to meet her ED in the bank and says, sir, I'm owing. And ED said, you know what? Don't worry. I know that they will write to us in case they say, don't worry. And that's why we should be open. That's why we should be open. And then finally committed to God, though. The debt journey is one that is fraught with, it destroys marriages, it destroys relationships, it destroys enterprises. So you need to have the God factor. And once the Holy Spirit is with you, I assure you that victory is certain.
Oh man, beautiful. This is really good. I remember a gentleman once walked up, he sent me a message on Instagram that he needed me to give him a loan. So I then invited him for breakfast in Transcorp. And I'm sharing this because people also need to know when God positions people your way, you need to know how to manage them.
Weird.
Right. So I hosted him for breakfast. And when he came, he said, I'm just coming from EFCC. I've been there for days. The first thing was also, how much are you owing? First thing was, it was later he confessed that he lied to me. Right. See, I think he said 800 million or something. Later he eventually said it was a lie. It was way more than that. First wrong decision. God brought you a destiny helper. You are lying to the person. Be vulnerable. The second thing was, I then said, okay, call for a Zoom meeting with everybody. And that's what you are saying about face your debtors is important. Face them. They will call you liar. They will call you scammer. They will call you thief. Face them. These things build character in us. Real character. When you go through all that experience of people maligning your name, it just builds a new version of you.
Okay.
So I have a Zoom meeting which he had, and he realized it wasn't as worse
as he thought it was.
And I said, tell them that look, if they keep coming after you, you won't be able to
pay.
You won't be able to pay.
I can't pay.
That if everyone drags you here and there and don't allow you run the business,
and the day I die, you're not going to get a dime.
Exactly. So talk to them, and he was impressed. I said, but I also tell them that I'm willing. You can mention my name. That I'm willing to, just what you were saying about, get somebody that his word is still gold. I said, mention my name, that I'm now your mentor. I'm going to mentor you in real estate sales, how to be a real estate agent. If you start making commission, you can pay this guy back, these people back. I said, but don't tell them you own the estates you are selling. You are an agent. Only for this guy to go, and he did the Zoom, he was successful. He then announced, congratulations, we have so estate. If I charged $20,000 for coaching, I didn't charge a dime with this guy because I just empathized. I went to his comment section and I typed, congratulations. I said, but shit at me because you have pressed the wrong button. He thought it was a joke. The exact thing I predicted happened. He said,
they'll come for it.
He had all our money.
He had used it to
so he bought land. All this while he banked land. He was
now he has come to enjoy it.
Even the brand ambassador he had, who used to defend him, was the first to call him out. It was hell. I mean, so we're sharing this again, not to ridicule anyone, but for you to understand the practicality of this, because sometimes God may even surround you with people, but you refuse to open up, to be vulnerable. You use 2 pills, use one. I don't know. Every of these things are critical and add up and are sensitive. So I hope this really helps. How can people join your conclave?
Okay, so I know the team. Well, on Instagram, we're going to put up on the bio. It's at Chris Omoijiade. That's ChrisOmoijiade. Mouthful. Chris Omoijiade. So there's going to be in the bio a link to the Depth Conclave and all the other classes that we will be having for the year. Also, you can reach out for the book as well, if the case you want to reach out for the book. We're also launching coaching calls from next month as well.
Wow.
Because I found out there are some people who just want to hear a voice as well.
Yeah.
They want to just be able to speak to somebody.
Very depressing for some.
Yes, they just want to speak to somebody. So at Chris Omoijiade on almost all the platforms you can think of, I'm sure somebody will respond to you. I watched the podcast with you and Dr. Stephen. I enjoyed it so much. Yeah. Thank God Dr. Stephen brought you. Now I need help. We'll be glad to help. It's a ministry for us now. Because we're called to the marketplace, so it's a ministry for us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me,
beautiful.
Doctor. I'm still going to hold the old doctor to that 10 million.
I wasn't the one that gave him.
I just said I'm still
for disclaimer.
I
am not the one. I said
I know
Dr. Koso is my mentor. And I said he's friend.
You're my friend.
And I'm not the friend.
You're my friend. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Guys, awesome time. Another beautiful episode of Billionaire Habits with me. I look forward to see you in next episode. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.